You're listening to 90.8 Hills FM Radio.
This is 90.8 Hills FM radio station, using our voice to rate your choice. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to Community Radio 90.8 Hills FM, the first community radio in Nagaland, based in Dimapur. What a joy, and what more can I say? Where am I seated? Definitely where Brillante was born. And may I also say this opportunity that the community radio has been welcome actually, and with an interest and with the initiative of the very own founder. I think there are a lot of hats that she wears that I cannot count on. And I think this is definitely the first time that I am actually sitting with her. And it's definitely a privilege, because we have a beautiful experience that how Brillante was born. And Khyochano TCK. And ladies and gentlemen, and hope the listeners enjoy our conversation, because this is a milestone that we all need to celebrate as a community member of the state, and also to be part of the community by talking about it, by participating, by praying about it, and also walking for our children and for those who are participating, because this has been a lot of hard work and efforts that has been put, because this is the 4th edition that they have come up with. And before I say more, in fact, I don't have much to say, but also be part of the conversation. So, Madame, welcome to our community radio.
Thank you, Gugu. That is such a beautiful introduction you gave of the entire Brillante Piano Festival and of me. Thank you so much for your time, and Hills FM for giving us this platform to share a little bit about what's happening.
So it's starting on September 29 till October 1st for 3 days, and it's going to be at the Cultural Hall in Kohima. And may I call you Kyo?
Please.
In short,
Right.
And with love. Khyochano, this is 4th edition, but let's go back. When did it start? Because we have a lot of memory together on this, and when I was going back, how it started and where it started, I think this is something that our listeners would be very much interested of the episode of what made you, in fact, prompt you that a piano festival, who in the world, there are a lot of such festivals around the world, but a small place like Nagaland, and with such brilliant performers and professionals. So to coin such a thing, I think this has been a blessing. So in your own words, please let us know.
Well, I think Brillante Piano Festival came about first as a response to what was needed in our community. Me basically being, a piano professional, and coming back home after my studies in the U.S., seeing the condition. In a sense, we had so much of rich history in terms of piano learning and piano education, because piano was the primary instrument when the missionaries had come to Nagaland, and our churches and our teachers and all our pioneering teachers in piano, whether it be Margaret Shishak or late Nini Lungalang, and so on, and also Mrs. Sekose, who were the first pioneers in the churches or in their own community, giving out whatever they had received. And so it began with those people, and the whole movement of piano learning came about, and we were all recipients of that. And then coming now to 2017, that was a sort of a status quo. Learning was being done as the same way. However, at that time, I felt as though I needed, as a teacher myself, something to look forward to myself. And all the numerous teachers, as well as institutes and students, we could not just go on having lessons after lessons and always just depending on the church or certain government events to have certain platforms to perform or things like that. And so this is how the festival came about, where I really wanted to basically uplift our music community. And in terms of piano playing, those were some of the focus points when that festival started. And also for our youth, I think the youth in Nagaland are vibrant and so talented and have so much of energy And at that time, especially, we needed platforms to also look forward to having something beyond just playing for small events, but to actually consider professionally as well that it is a career option. And so in terms of employment, in terms of entertainment, in terms of the whole big picture that our creative industry can be a part of. So that's how it came about. And so I think, Gugu, you were part of the first edition, and it was such it started very humbly, only in Nagaland, in Kohima. At that time, we had 3 performing artists. The goal was also, as I was mentioning, since pedagogy is part of one of the featuring hallmark events of Brillante, if I can mention, it is the concerts, the pedagogy, and the competition. So those 3 are the hallmark events of Brillante. And so in terms of concerts, we always have a local artist, an international artist, and a national artist, so that we can have that whole synergy, and then our youth can see those professionals perform, at such high levels. And so it's just to encourage, and also to encourage excellence in our playing. So that's how it came about. And then from those 3 days, now so the festival is generally for 3 days, and then we had just 3 performing artists. Now coming back to 2023, in our 4th edition, we have 21 performing artists. 16. We have 16 performing artists and several groups, and the community has just grown into becoming a whole pan-India movement, and that is such a remarkable story, and it's a wonderful story in terms of, if you can use the word success, in that way. So we're very blessed and privileged that so many people have come alongside to support what we do at Brillante.
So, when you shared about the first journey, that was way back in 2017, and that was the smallest, humble, and as you've also shared, as you being a teacher, but alongside a lot of learnings were also evolving as you were doing, and you felt the need after observing, and of course coming back from the US where you studied, and the teachers that have taught you, and it's a way of giving back to the community, because you have received, alongside not just you, but there were other people who have been in the same journey. So what made you feel that this was going to go? Did you know that this was going to go this far?
I knew that this would work, because these are the things that build infrastructure in any creative medium. So we can't just focus on performance alone, because there is a whole different story behind performances that take place. So that story is told by the learning and training aspect, which we focus on as pedagogy, right? And then we also wanted to add the competition element, because that encourages healthy competition and healthy way of really having a goal and being motivated to perform in stressful situations, because that is the real world. The real world is not just your room and playing for yourself or your pets or your family alone or your small school. If you really want to go the extra mile, and so this platform, the competition, is for those that want to go beyond the community and access different levels of performanceship, whether professionally or in the teaching arena. So that was for them. Because, as you know, in this performing arts medium, to get access to any education, higher education, you have to perform at such a level where you're competing with the rest of the world. You're not just competing among your own people. So this was a very necessary element. And I knew it would work. And so it has worked.
Well, that's a wonderful way of putting it, but I'm sure it has not been easy, and especially with a new idea and you're testing the ground. What have been your challenges? Would you like to share that with our listeners?
I think, for me, I've been really blessed to have really good people that always come alongside, and Gugu, you are also a person who volunteered and just came with full abandon just to host our first edition, and I really appreciate you for that. And the team that has always been part of Brillante, we are voluntary, and so they come on board and they give more than people do in jobs, when we talk about jobs here and there, and they're all madcaps, just as I am. And so I think we need those type of people to really believe in what we are doing. And all those who come on board are those type of people that really believe in the core values, and also the purity of our intent, which is to really impact the community positively. So we really are very strong on social development through what we do. And so what we do are creative engagements that really support passing, the positive ways of living life and discipline and all of those things in the community. We impacted. The main challenge, I think, is generally what is the main challenge all over the world in terms of creative arts and all these things, is it's finance, because it's always, music or dance. These are regarded as, what do you call it?
A hobby,
Hobby and extracurricular activities.
time pass.
Right. And all those things. So, why should we give money for that? And they think that just because people are talented, they don't need to pay for certain things. I mean, we also, I think, in our state we're spoiled in the sense that we don't like to pay for concerts, and we've given so many freebies out there. So one of the questions I had during our press conference was that it's a festival. Why are you all charging money for tickets? Then I had to explain that we are all encouraged to sustain ourselves. So any music festival that you would go to, you would have to pay for the concerts and other things that they're offered. Plus, at the same time, when we talk about the halls, first, we can rent. All the halls are rented. In the Capital Cultural Hall, so they have their own fees. And it's not like we're just going to cough up the money without charging rates for the people to come and attend. So I think funding becomes the biggest challenge, and we're learning along the way. We're also grateful for people who come on board, and that is something that we're still learning. Otherwise, in terms of other things, we have not had much challenge, actually. It's just the regular things that we have to coordinate and plan and organize ourselves. I think those are the main things. Otherwise, I think the other challenge would be to change the perspective of the community, to sensitize them about the impact of such things and how the value of it, and to encourage them to. We don't even like to go out to concerts also, in the same way as we don't like to go to restaurants maybe at night sometimes, in our community. So always going to concerts to attend these things are not time pass, but then we are also encouraged when we go, we're inspired. And if I may just go ahead, for this edition, we are actually focusing on what we call the Specially Abled Musicians Program. And that is a special initiation for our 4th edition. And this is also as a response to the special needs community that we see around. So many stellar musicians and really sensitive and good artists are there in our community. And actually the disabled community all over the world, it's the largest minority. And we forget sometimes. I think sometimes what happens is we forget that they can contribute so much more in such platforms. And when it comes to music and entertainment, sometimes we're just so focused and driven by what the consumerism and pop culture requires that we tend to overlook a segment of the community that can give so much and give so much value. So the Specially Abled Musicians Program has been specially curated and initiated to make it an inclusive festival, first of all, but also to let them inspire us. And this whole journey has been such an encouragement. It's such an overwhelming experience for the team as well, as we've gone about interacting with the artists themselves and have had connections from different parts of India itself. And so they will be coming to perform, and it's such an exciting thing that we are actually looking forward to it just as much as they are. Maybe they are more. I don't know who's more excited, them or us, but we're all super excited.
I think we're all excited, Khyochano, because see, you've shared that it's this year's edition is inclusivity. But definitely Brillante has been inclusive. Just that the faces, this is the fourth edition. And over the years, how it has grown, and you've also shared about that you have evolved, because it takes time for an idea to grow, to be nurtured. And definitely, this is something that each one of us, when we are community workers, when we think for a community, it is much beyond ourselves. And unless we create an ecosystem, like you have rightly said, unless people believe in your idea, unless people actually trust the journey with faith, it is impossible to even take the first step. And it is very much evident how Brillante has been able to garner such kind of support, not just from the music community, but in terms of individuals. Would like to know more on the offset of what is that ultimate goal that you have in mind, even though you're saying that being one of the biggest piano festival and having to have participants coming from five states, if I'm correct, how do you see their participation making a difference in the fourth edition, different from the first, second, and third?
I think in the first edition, the competition was within Nagaland alone. And by the second edition, we had inquiries of people wanting to participate from different states. So from the second edition, we went national in that way. And so the evolvement also took step by step in its own way. And the third edition was online because it was straight after COVID in 2021. And since it was online, we could do an international version where we had participants in the competition from different parts of the world, different countries. We had 7 countries represented. And our panel of jury was also from different countries. And performing artists were also like that because they could come from the US or the UK, Hungary, and things like that. So that was the special part of the 2021 edition, which we could have because it was online. And it was just superb as well. Now in our 4th edition, we are actually having all of them fly in the competition as well from the five states. And it is exciting because it just goes on to say that it is being highlighted. People are taking notice that they would spend their own money to fly all the way from Gujarat, imagine from one part of the country to another. So things like that. And then our performing artists also are from the UK, the US. We have Spain, Mexico, Italy. They're from those countries. Of course, they're based in India at the moment, but having those representations also adds to the value of the festival in terms of having different people coming from different parts of the world talking about different techniques and their own experiences, which they can all share and train within the festival as well. So that's one. And being an inclusive festival, we also have specialized curated workshops on music therapy, sound healing, and those areas where our caregivers or professionals in special needs schools and centers can also learn from and use those techniques, because music therapy is something we also use in different schools. I know that a lot of teachers who have to teach children with different disabilities, whether they're visible or invisible, and so many times I'm always having to interact with teachers who talk about, I'm stuck, I don't know how to deal with my kid who's autistic, or someone who has, maybe some type of visual deficiencies or completely blind and different things like that. And so we deal with ADHD things, and sometimes we are all trying to find our own way, learning by ourselves, and that those type of tested and learned by ourselves. But then having these experts come from, especially like Indian Association of Music Therapy, they have a program where it's been researched and in dealing with frequencies and megahertz and different things with audio sounds and how different decibels and frequencies affect the response of the individual, and how healing music can be used as a therapy, alternative therapy as well. So hopefully we also want to learn from that, but we're making it available to the community. And we wanted, when I was talking about social development, this is also another aspect where the education community can see all the resources that are available in other communities or other parts of the world. And they don't have to fly there, but they can find these resources in one venue. And we're going to give them a taste of that because it is the only multi-genre festival, also jazz and Western classical. So we have experts in those areas. And it's not just piano. When it comes to piano, singing gets involved. All other chamber music or accompaniment, because piano is such a versatile instrument. It is an instrument that you would use as in production as a sound engineer. You would use it in studies. Everyone who studies music has to know about piano. Then all the, whether you're a voice person or a different instrument person, also you need to learn how to do ensemble or band works. And so it sort of complements all types of needs and out there, whether you're musical or non-musical as well. And so that is how it is shaping and moving along at the moment.
Wow, that's like really need to dive in. So to dive in there, I think the listeners would be very curious to know, how did you get to coin the word Brillante? So would you want to share that with us?
Sure. So originally, I think I was in a group chat with Nise and Zedino and myself. At that time, they were all helping me organize Brillante, and as I said, it was a very small group. Now we have a team strength of about 15 individuals. At that time, it was just three of us having to discuss all about it, And I remember as we were just thinking about how to name the festival, certain names were being, pulled out, brainstorming, and suddenly it hit me, Brillante. That sounds the appropriate word. So it's an Italian word. Is basically, Brillante is a musical term. Basically, it's an Italian origin, and the musical definition would be something showy and shiny. So it is a direction of how to perform a certain passage in music that you execute it with such flourish that you sparkle, as you play it. So it describes some virtuosity and technical ability. I think the other definition, the general definition would be something that's bright and sparkling and luminous. And so that meaning really captivated me as well. And I thought, it's something small, but luminous and shiny. It has a light of its own. And so talent and gifting is inherent, is an inherent quality that you receive from your creator, and something that can be nurtured and can, you glow yourself first, but to let that light shine brighter, you need a bigger light, and that comes with a number of lights coming together. So that's the community, and just to grow and to grow in excellence as well. When we say we have to perform a passage with skill and execution, that it attracts people because we're all drawn to light. So all of those things encompass the reason why Brillante came about, and I think it's a really appropriate name, and we hope also in our hearts to put our state on the map by this festival, that it continues to grow, not just as a Nagaland thing, but it is, since it's born in Nagaland, in Kohima, that it should grow and then go to other parts of India and other parts of the world, and that we can truly shine as we deserve to and as we need to, as we grow along the way.
So are we looking at Brillante changing its location at some point, as you do also wish that this would grow and it takes you to places? Are there any chances of, if Brillante, is invited to host apart from Nagaland, do you think there are ways or opportunities that is showing?
Yes, Gugu, very much. I think we already had a small little skip out of the state. Last year we were invited to have this festival at Cyber Hub in Gurgaon. So that was such a debut out of the state, and it was a stellar venue as well, right in the smack center of Cyber Hub, where the Fortune 500 companies surround that whole area, and the footfall is 40,000, and it was just amazing. So we had a small little appearance there. Of course, it was a whole day of appearance, but what I'm saying small is because it was only for one day instead of our usual 3 days. But that was our first debut outside, and yes, we are looking forward to do that, because that's the only way we can grow, and that's the only way we export ourselves as being part of Nagaland, and a music brand from Nagaland, to go to other parts of India and to have small festivals. Because the uniqueness of Brillante is that there is no such festival like this, having all these features anywhere in the world. Because I spent this whole year researching, and there were a group of other friends from other parts also researching, because we also want to learn from other festivals and to reference from in terms of research. And the qualities that we have, it's not really offered, because mainly they'll be focused either on competition or either on the training and competition, or they have camps, or some are just concerts. But our series involves the whole gamut of the artistic and performing arts journey. So in that way, our festival is quite unique in itself. And so I think it is a model that can be used in other parts of India as well. And we look forward to it, and we are able to go, and we will go.
I think that's exciting, because it's a very organic baby idea that got born. It's a local idea, and curated by our own people, no? And to think of, oh, sorry, I'm getting goosebumps. To think of going beyond your own comfort zone, it also speaks a lot. I mean, we've always borrowed ideas, but to organically, locally, localize, and people appreciating it and wanting, just the edition itself has shown, the first edition, the second edition, and the third edition, and the fourth edition, it has shown enough that this was not just an internal nurturing, but an external nurturing of people wanting to even participate, because there is a public demand for it, right? And this not only sets a standard or an ecosystem of healthy competitors, but we learn from each other. With something, it's also an experience that will be with the person. And I say this because as a community worker myself, I sincerely feel the kind of hard work that has put in, because being the fourth edition and being inclusive, it also speaks about how consciously and intentionally all of you are doing this. Some of the things that I have been listening and seeing, do you think music, definitely music is expensive in terms of taking the course, going through the whole process, disciplining yourself, and it's an art. How do you encourage people? Because, as I said, and I think you are the best person to speak on this, it's a very expensive hobby. Yes. It's an expensive exercise, and it requires a lot of financial logistics, But how do you encourage a layman, a lay family, a common man to see music differently? Because we still don't take music seriously, because our basis comes from our church, where you're part of the choir, from your Sunday school, you grow up. A lot of our musicians come from our church background, and then, of course, they decide what kind of music they want to choose and make it into a career. So how do you see the influence of music from our church, influencing in the industry? And do you think that this is something that we don't look at as, just for the meantime, you can take music as a course, but how do we make it as a serious business? Do you see the potential, and do you think there's a shift of the perception, the perspective changing over the years with your experience and your observation?
Oh, that's a loaded question. Oh my God. I'll try and
break it down for you.
I'll just try and hit along the way, and you can remind me as well. Where do we even begin? I think if the question is directed more to the Nagas, right?
Yes, because we still don't take these things seriously. Of course, it requires disciplining. It's quite expensive because there are children who are very talented, but they cannot afford for a class. They need sponsorships. And I think these are real issues. So when you talk about inclusivity, when you talk about a community, when you talk about giving back to the community, the reality is something else. So how do you plan to bridge, to simplify it? Because People look at it as, it's for elite people who can afford it, who have the money. Na? So you leave out a lot of the community stakeholders. So as a musician, as a teacher, and as somebody who is promoting this for the community movement, how do you step in and make a difference?
Right. I think, okay, so we're still in a stage where we're trying to provide the right platform for the right segment of the community. Now, when it comes to the way in which the affordability and the cost of all this type of learning, the subject, music, or any art form, it does cost money because training does cost money. And sometimes I think the whole thing comes because we do not have in our country institutes that people can just go to and study. So music colleges and conservatoires have now come up, universities, that people can just go and get the higher level. And through that, after their degree, they're able to teach. However, the thing is that you can't, it's such a subject that you can't just go at BA level and, you know, fully zero and say, I'm going to do a bachelor's in music, because you need to have certain years of background learning already or experience and things like that. And so for that initial years, foundational years, where you need to be equipped before entering another college, you do have to have that, because our schools do not have a system as such to develop those foundational base for that subject. So now a lot of schools in Nagaland has that, even NBSC has it in their curriculum, but it is an optional subject. Most schools also have music within their own school, whether the private lessons within the school and whether it's given as a subject. And so those schools are the ones that are able to beef up, you know, supplement that type of education. Now, at the same time, that also has its own challenges and have their own unique problems. And so they come to places where the institutes are established and they try and get maybe the extra, because now it's become trendy as well. People who can afford do send their kids to schools, and then there's another filtration process that takes place, because the kids who are dragged to schools, you know, because the parents think that it's good time pass for them, because, and it's a better time pass than sitting on the phone or playing games somewhere, because they're actually using their brain and coordination, and you just end up learning geography, history, math when you're learning music as well. So those are the pluses. They're not just doing music and time passing, but they're actually getting other types of subjects as well. So all this I'm saying because our rates are actually lesser than any part of India. We normally at the schools in Nagaland charge 2,000 per month, which comes up to 500 rupees per lesson. Now, people who are giving tuitions also are paying that much or even higher. You know, for monthly courses in whether in Delhi, Gurgaon, or Mumbai, it'll be like 5,000, 4,000 per month. And so we do, you know, try and keep it as low as possible. I think the schools in Nagaland, and maybe for higher learning, they pay more. Now, having said that, I think we are developing gradually, and to dignify the role of music professionals also has come a long way since my time, since I'm an old grandmother now, seriously. So because we could never charge anything. We played everything free from A to Z, you know. But so the ones that have come behind us should be thankful that we've done that, and we speak for them and we say that, no, they need to get paid, pay them, because it is important. And so because they do spend so much time. So even when you go and visit a doctor, you're paying 400 rupees for consultation fees of maybe 15 minutes too. So when we look at it like that, I know that music is not a life and death thing when we look at it in terms of our health and body, but it is also something that gives you so much. I think our community is richer because of the presence of music. And now when it comes to Nagaland in itself, our whole community structure and the way we do things is within music. Because of our oral tradition as well, we've always used music to pass on our forms, whether it's music, whether it's literature or history or even textile. It's done through singing, and we incorporate that in our festivals, our farming. Everything is centered around music. And we use music to impart all those information as well, right? So for Nagas, because it is so available. I think sometimes we have taken it for granted, was for something that is, oh, everyone can sing, why should I pay for singing classes when I can sing so much better than that person who's taking classes? We can compare it in that way. Of course, we have, ability and and the community in Nagaland is a very musical one, if we can say that. But if we leave it at that alone, we're not going to grow into the higher levels that it requires in terms of technical understanding. And it's not just knowledge. It's also, there's so many varieties in terms of the music industry, if you call it, and so whether it's performance or being in the teaching profession or being somewhere in the recording studio, someone's working, whether it's in film scoring and composition, that's another aspect. Transcription is another aspect where people know how to actually write the music language down in music format so that you can preserve it for other people to read and share it. And so there's so many other ways in which we can get into this profession, which we have not exhausted or explored even. And so I think those are the things that we're having to find our way through again. And I think we're all trying. I think I should say that we're trying, but we can do so much more, and we can initiate so much more. We can support others who are initiating as well, and not just be comfortable. I think we'd like to be so comfortable all the time. And when I said not even going to concerts, that's just one small aspect of it. But there's so many other aspects, where there are workshops, where they're training, or whether there are other schools that are doing things. We need to go and support those things. Whether when TEFMA is organizing free workshops and free, we just had the theater festival as well. So we talk about all these things, but then when things are being organized free, we have to go and get from that. Because when you go only, you have to invest in something, to invest in yourself as well. So knowledge is not just free, So I think the community within ourselves have to change in the way we're looking at it, and not just look at our deficits and always say, oh, I didn't get that, or that school, they have so many more students, or they have those teachers, or they're getting this funding. Why are they doing that? Because they're going out and running after it, and they're thinking of innovative ways of doing music or teaching music, and so people are coming to them. I think we have to look at ourselves, and all of us need to work together to help the ecosystem, to encourage each other, and to support. We need to support one another as well.
I think you've really touched that point that you see, knowledge is not actually. It's supposed to be free, but we've taken these freebies taken for granted. So when you talk about, oh, it's a free entry, it's a free exhibition, please come one and all, we said, it's a waste of time. But once it has a price tag, then people value it. And this is something our Naga society is going through. It's not just in terms of music, but it is also in terms of every component, Even if it's a free vegetable, they will say, oh, biya wishiniki, na? Or maybe they're just discarding the last batch, So our understanding of valuing an art, I think we are lacking the culture of appreciation. In fact, appreciation culture is very much that needs to be inculcated, and taking music, for example, as a profession, that is still a long way, but agreed to the point where you've said over the years things have been changing, and I think this is because of the relentless, resilient efforts by people like you and people who have joined this movement along with you. And not just Brillante, there are other, community members in their own little corner making an effort, right, Kyo? And it's so encouraging to hear from you when you actually give a deep sense of recognizing the real issues, because a lot of times we don't like getting into the issues, and we like beautifying it from the external and say, hey, all is well, nah? But I don't think so that helps in our intentional effort of making a difference and being part of the community that we wish to build. And I feel that as a community radio, and we being able to collaborate like this, to be able to share the journey, not just in terms of how it was curated, but the intention and also the purpose of the existence action. So, Kyo, what is it that you wish to let the listeners know? Because we have really spoken about the genesis of how Brillante started, the struggles, the challenges, and also the joy of how it is evolving, and how people are actually. Actually, it's a public demand. You know, it is not just the committee thinking about it, or the members of the Brillante committee thinking about it, but people really wanting to participate. And I think that's it is a success in itself. And you have what? How many participants in total so far?
We have 51 people coming, delegates coming this time. That's inclusive of artists and our competitors as well. So initially we had 4. That's 2017. Now we have 51 guests coming from out of the state, and so it is quite a wonderful thing.
Oh, yes, I can see that expression in your face, the excitement. But I think this is also a success in itself, because it's just not a one-man show. You know, it's impossible to have a one-man show to come this far. And having such a wonderful team with understanding, and also having this comprehensive skill in the field of music, because it is not just about, just doing a festival, but really curating with research, with understanding of the society that is evolving, and also addressing to the need that music requires to grow. And industry is something that it keeps evolving. And piano festival, I think Nagaland's first piano festival, and has become so big in itself. It's a pride to the state and to the people. So we want to thank you, and we really want to acknowledge your contribution. Is there anything else that you wish the listeners to know? And perhaps you can do a personal invitation to our listeners to come and join the 3-day festival.
Well, Gugu, thank you so much for this time, along with Hills FM, to collaborate with us and share what we are about. This is of such a high value for us, and we consider this as an asset for us as well. Well, for our listeners, I just want to invite all of you to come to Capital Cultural Hall on the 29th, 30th, and the 1st. Okay. For all our listening viewers, I would like to invite all of you to come to the festival during the days 29th and 30th of September and the 1st of October. We also have a small street piano event that will take place in Jail Colony on the 28th of September as well at 4 p.m. So we would love to see you there. We're doing this for the community, to share together our love for music, and to make music in the community, outside, in the parking lot out there. And so we want to see you all to come and celebrate and just to enjoy music. And Brillante Piano Festival is basically a spectacular, vibrant, and one-of-a-kind music event that is defined by really good, fine music from music lovers themselves, not just performers, but music lovers. And I'm telling you, you're going to have a lot of programs that are curated for those 3 days. We have meetings and engagements that will take place all day. So whether it's the 29th or the 30th or the 1st, there are panel discussions, there are 12 pedagogy sections, we have consultants, we have masterclasses, lectures and trainings that take place. For those who want to learn about piano maintenance and piano tuning, there is a technical segment of the festival as well, not just the artistic. And so we want you to come to the concerts, come to the foyer area where there will be lots of just impromptu performances, and also some performances by choirs, and there's a piano jam, ensemble jam that will take place as well, and just so many different programs that have just been there to include everyone. And we also have vendors from our community who is going to be giving you treats and selling their stuff as well. So it is a full festival in that way. So we invite you, we want you to come and support, we want you to come and enjoy and spend time with us. And you're going to have so much fun at Capital Cultural Hall. And there's going to be so much of installation arts as well. And that whole facelift also, we want you to just come and have a peek and enjoy and be part of us. So do come and be part of our journey welcome.
That is the sweetest way of welcoming, and I don't think so anybody would say, no, Kyo, we're not coming. Definitely, this has really excited me, honestly speaking. Had I not had this opportunity...
Now
Well-
that you said it online, everyone is going to look out for Google. I'm going to take a photo, a video, and tell everyone. Tag you.
Well, Kyo and I have had, I think the listeners should know a little bit about the background of the first Brillante, and I was the host of the program for 3 days. And I must tell you, music is not for me in terms of technical word. I must admit to that, because so Kyo has been very kind, and this is, of course, to let the listeners also understand that music itself is a language that brings people together. And whether you have the technical knowledge or you don't, it is the heart that speaks, and it has healed. It has mended relationships. It has also brought back a sense of belonging with yourself. It's a connection. It is a whole world of, people-centric relationship. And I think a lot of us are so scared to feel that connection. And we do believe that Brillante would continue to spark that, what its main purpose is, and be the light, spark the light. Because light, one individual light and a collective light is entirely different. I mean, the spectrum, the whole horizon of making people see, feel, and be part of it. So on behalf of 90.8 Hills FM, the community, we really want to wish Brillante team the very best, the participants who are coming in, and also the joy that it would be bringing in, because there's a lot of expectations, because you've already added Kyo in all of us, and I think it's the success would be when you and I participate. So it is here the community radio wishes to invite the listeners to be part of this 3-day festival and enjoy, have conversation, and also experience the unexperienced part. And I think that's what it makes a success of every journey. And we wish Brillante the very best, and especially to you, Kyo, for your continued visioning. And the 4th edition has been a journey that, a milestone that you can only think and dream, but you have made it happen. So thank you so much for making this dream of yours a reality. And definitely this movement that is going to continue, no matter how small, no matter how new it may be for many of us. We pray that you continue to push this. And at any point of time, we, the community radio, would want to continue that extent of support. And we pray that it would be a wonderful 3 days of the festival. All will be well. Healthy participants, happy people moving around, and this is definitely something that Nagaland State is blessed with. So with that note, 90.8 Hills FM signs off and say thank you, and we hope that this would help us see that this is not just the beginning or the end, but a continued story in all our lives. So with that, thank you, and signing off.
You're listening to 90.8 Hills FM Radio.
This is 90.8 Hills FM radio station, using our voice to rake your choice. Stay tuned.